The Standard Tribune, Eugene Nforngwa, joins us now via Skype from Yaounde in Cameroon. A very good evening to you, Eugene. Thank you so much for joining us. First of all, what's the view of the media in the way the elections has unfolded?
Thank you very much for having me. These elections were very, very special in Cameroon for many reasons. First of all, because many Cameroonians felt that at this time there was a real chance of power change. President Paul Biya, who has been ruler of the country since 1982, is in his old ages, and many feel that even if not through the election that just happened, there's going to be power change in Cameroon anytime soon. And so there was so much attention to these elections. We haven't seen anything like this since the 1990s.
Take us back, if you can, as to what the issues are that the Constitutional Court looked at in the petitions.
Most of the petitions had to do with claims by opposition candidates that the elections could not be considered to have taken place regularly, in part because part of the country, the southwest and the northwest regions, where an insurgency is taking place, could not have voted. Millions and millions of people, according to the opposition, were unable to vote because of the high levels of insecurity. The leading opposition party, the Social Democratic Front, demanded that the elections be annulled because of these. But also the MRC of candidate Maurice Kamto, who had earlier indicated that he'd won the election, said in many places his polling agents were driven out of the polling stations, and they doubt the quality of the results that are coming from those polling stations where they were not represented. And they are asking, or were asking, the Constitutional Council to cancel the election in these places. They wanted a partial cancellation of the election. Of course, the Constitutional Council met over the last couple of days and ruled in almost, or in all cases, that there was not enough proof and that the opposition did not make a strong case for any form of cancellation.
And why then did the court immediately dismiss the first 16?
The court dismissed some of the cases that they were inadmissible because of the way in which they were, the cases were compiled and brought to the court. Some procedural and technical issues led to the early dismissal of some of the cases. But those that went through and went to the part of hearing, the court said there was not enough proof to back up the claims of the opposition party, and that they didn't see any justification to cancel the elections, whether partially or fully.
Now, Eugene, from your observation, starting from the initial stages of the election process to the counting of the votes, did you get a sense that this election, or rather the system, was already rigged to give the president, the incumbent president, a structural advantage over his opponents?
I think that's the point. You use the expression structural advantage, and I think that's exactly what the opposition was saying, in that the administration took advantage of the fact that there was this insecurity in many parts of the country, deployed state resources, they alleged, and used the administrative apparatus to the advantage of the incumbent president. There were complaints about, for example, the use of advertising spaces. The opposition claimed that they were not allowed to put up billboards and banners in certain parts of the country, and that the incumbent occupied all of the strategic areas with its banners. But there were also issues of not being able to reach certain parts of the country with campaign. And of course, there were curfews, which were effective in certain parts of the country, and the opposition felt that these things were put in place deliberately so that the incumbent could have an advantage. There were also problems, very few of them though, of ballot boxes that were being stuffed or people voting in irregular conditions. The Prime Minister of the Republic, for example, voted in a place that was not his regular polling station. The President of the Senate, who was in Paris, voted in Paris, which the opposition said was irregular. So there were these kinds of irregularities, along with the structural problems that could have given an advantage to the incumbent president.
Have you perhaps heard from the neighboring countries and the regional bodies? What are they saying? Are they perhaps happy with Mr. Biya being in power for 36 years and seeking another 7-year term?
The neighboring countries, so far, none of them has spoken up either for or against the president. Even the observers from, including the African Union who are here, have refused to make any comments on the conduct of the election or even on the fact that President Paul Biya, who's now one of Africa's longest serving leaders, is poised to take up another 7-year term. I'm suspecting that the leaders are waiting to see the outcome of the election, and they are likely to make a statement once these elections are declared, probably by Monday.
Cameroon is also grappling with a separatist insurgency seeking to break away from Cameroon. We've also seen in the year 2016 that 20% of the demographic of the Anglophone will try to break away from Cameroon, resulting in the crisis in the year 2016. So how serious is this problem?
It is a huge problem now. Hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people have been displaced either internally or across the borders into Nigeria. Hundreds of villages have been completely deserted. The reports of places where no single soul lives now. The armed separatists, their numbers are growing by the day, and the number of clashes and the intensity of clashes has gone up, particularly in the build-up to these elections. The separatists who claim that the English-speaking parts of Cameroon are no longer parts of the Republic of Cameroon were poised to ensure that this election did not take place in parts of English-speaking parts of the Cameroon. And to a very large extent, if you read some of the figures that are coming out of there, they succeeded. Early indications show that only about 5% of the voters in the southwest region, for example, were able to vote. In the northwest, it was much less than that. And it's suspected that these were mostly military personnel who were posted in these areas who were able to brave the level of insecurity, and a few administrative officials who were able to vote. So this crisis has significantly affected this election. Also, if you followed the dispute in the Constitutional Council, most of the lawyers and the arguments from the opposition centered around this crisis. It seems to be the most significant problem that Cameroon is facing at the moment.
Now, how is the potential winner of this election planning to resolve this insurgency?
Each candidate has given a different perspective on how they're going to resolve this problem. The incumbent president, in one of his campaign messages, said he was seeking a mandate to resolve this problem. But all of these rhetoric doesn't seem to be taken seriously by the people on the ground, especially the separatists, who feel that there is no turning back now. It's a separation. We have to wait and see whether these people will be brought to the table. There have been talks of dialogue, but so far the discussions about dialogue seems to be discussions that exclude the separatists, and the separatists are indeed those calling the shots on the ground. So it's very, very difficult to say for now that the next president is going to have an easy task trying to resolve this problem.
And the Anglophone community, we do understand that they largely boycotted the elections because they were isolated for fear of their safety. Moving forward, what's the likelihood that we will see them in future polls?
Come again, please.
The Anglophone community, you know, they boycotted the elections for fear of their safety. So are we likely to see them boycotting future elections?
Elections are expected in Cameroon next year for municipal councillors and parliamentarians. I do not expect that the situation would have changed significantly for those elections to go smoother than this presidential election. Yes, unless this problem is arrested now and a definite solution is found, the separatists are bent on disrupting not only elections, but any government business in the Anglophone parts of the country. Their strategy is to make the Anglophone parts of the country ungovernable. Their strategy is to ensure that the administration that is run from Yaounde leaves this territory. And so anything that ties the territory back to Yaounde is unlikely to succeed, at least smoothly, in the foreseeable future.
All right, Eugene, thank you so much for your update. We really appreciate it. That is award-winning Cameroonian journalist of the Standard Tribune, Eugene Nforngwa. This is The Globe. Thank you so much for watching.